Bouillabaisse. Bouillabaisse started as poor man's food. Marseille fishermen threw unsellable fish, the ones too bony, too ugly, too small for market, into a pot with water, saffron, and whatever herbs grew nearby. The result was never meant to be elegant. Today, a single bowl at a traditional Marseille restaurant costs over 60 euros. The same dish that fed people who could not afford better food now requires a reservation at a table with a view of the harbor. The fish did not change, the price tag did. Pizza Margherita. Pizza Margherita was created in Naples in 1889 for Queen Margherita of Savoy during a royal visit. The pizzaiolo made 3 versions. The queen chose tomato, mozzarella, and basil, the colors of the Italian flag, and he named it after her. But here's what nobody tells you. Neapolitan pizza existed for decades before the queen arrived. Her visit simply gave one combination a royal name that stuck forever. The most famous pizza in the world was named after a queen who did not invent it. We broke down every single pizza style, NY, Chicago, Detroit, and more. Click the link on screen to watch. Scotch egg. A Scotch egg is a hard-boiled egg wrapped entirely in seasoned sausage meat, coated in breadcrumbs, and deep fried. It was invented in 1738 by the London department store Fortnum and Mason as a portable luxury snack for wealthy travelers making long carriage journeys. For 2 centuries, it remained a picnic food for the upper classes. Then it became a pub snack. Then it became a gastropub statement dish served with a runny yolk and artisanal mustard. Then it became a gas station snack sold in plastic packaging for under £1. The Scotch egg has traveled the entire British class system in both directions and is currently everywhere at once, being served at Michelin-starred restaurants and motorway forecourts on the same afternoon. Bratwursts. Germany takes bratwurst seriously enough to have legal regulations defining exactly what it can contain. The first written record appears in Nuremberg in 1313, making it over 700 years old. Nuremberg bratwursts can only be legally produced within the city walls of Nuremberg. Germans eat over 800 million bratwursts per year. At every German football match, bratwurst outsells every other food item combined. A sausage has more legal protection in Germany than most intellectual property.
Tiramisu. Tiramisu was invented in the 1960s or 70s. The Veneto region and Friuli Venezia Giulia both claim it. It did not appear in Italian cookbooks until the 1980s, despite both regions claiming earlier origins. Ladyfinger biscuits soaked in espresso, layered with mascarpone cream, dusted with cocoa. The name means pick me up in Italian. Tiramisu became globally famous in the 1990s when it appeared on restaurant menus internationally as the definitive Italian dessert. A dessert whose origin 2 Italian regions still argue about became the most recognized Italian dessert in the world within a decade.
Chicken Kiev. Chicken Kiev has been the subject of a naming dispute between Russia and Ukraine for over a century. The dish, a chicken breast filled with herbed butter, breaded and fried so the butter remains molten inside, was likely developed in French-influenced Russian restaurants in the early 20th century. Ukraine claims the name based on the city. Russia claims the preparation technique. The dispute became politically significant when restaurants across Europe and America removed Chicken Kiev from menus or renamed it Chicken Kyiv in solidarity with Ukraine following the 2022 Russian invasion. A butter-filled chicken dish became a geopolitical statement overnight. The butter inside has remained unchanged throughout the entire debate.
Churros. Churros were brought to Europe by Portuguese sailors returning from China in the 16th century, where a similar fried dough called youtiao had existed for centuries. Spain adapted the recipe, added cinnamon sugar, and paired it with thick hot chocolate for dipping. Spanish colonization carried churros to Mexico and Latin America, where they evolved into the street food format that reached the United States through Mexican-American communities. Disney theme parks began selling churros in the 1980s and now sell approximately 3.5 million annually across their parks. A 16th century Portuguese sailor snack became one of the most recognizable theme park foods in the world. Cheese fondue was declared the national dish of Switzerland in the 1930s by the Swiss Cheese Union as a deliberate marketing campaign to increase cheese consumption during economic hardship. The campaign was so successful that fondue became internationally associated with Swiss identity within a generation. The Swiss Cheese Union later became involved in one of the largest financial scandals in Swiss food industry history when it was discovered they had spent millions promoting fondue internationally, including allegedly bribing Olympic officials to serve it at the 1988 Calgary Olympics. A marketing campaign for cheese became a national identity and then a financial scandal. Switzerland has complicated feelings about all of this. Béarnaise. Béarnaise was invented in 1837 at a restaurant called Le Pavillon Henry IV outside Paris. The chef, Colonnet, accidentally over-reduced a tarragon sauce and added egg yolks to save it. The result was named after the Béarn region of France, the birthplace of King Henry IV. The sauce is egg yolks emulsified with clarified butter, finished with tarragon, shallots, and white wine vinegar reduction. It breaks at the wrong temperature and cannot be fixed once it separates. Professional chefs consider it the hardest classical French sauce to execute consistently. A kitchen accident in 1837 became the most technically demanding sauce in Western cooking. Prosciutto. Prosciutto requires exactly 2 ingredients: pork and salt, nothing else. The leg is rubbed with sea salt and hung to cure for anywhere between 12 and 36 months. No smoking, no cooking, no additional preservation, just salt, time, and controlled air. Parma prosciutto carries protected designation of origin status, meaning it can only be produced in one specific region of Italy. A single aged leg can cost over $500. The most expensive ones are aged longer than most people's relationships. Spaghetti carbonara. Carbonara has 4 ingredients: guanciale, eggs, pecorino romano, and black pepper. No cream. Never cream. The Italian Academy of Cuisine registered the official recipe without cream and without any substitution. Restaurants across the world add cream and call it carbonara. Roman chefs encounter this daily and have developed a specific expression for the moment a tourist orders the cream version. That expression communicates everything without words. We actually covered carbonara in our full pasta breakdown. Every shape, every sauce, every rule Italy doesn't forgive. Waffles were invented in medieval Europe when cooks began pressing batter between 2 iron plates with a honeycomb pattern. The grid design was not decorative, it was practical, creating a structure that held toppings like syrup and butter in the pockets. Thomas Jefferson reportedly brought a waffle iron back from France in the 1780s, helping popularize them in America. Belgium has 2 distinct waffle styles: the Brussels waffle, which is light and rectangular, and the Liège waffle, which is denser and sweeter with caramelized sugar baked in. Sauerkraut. Sauerkraut was eaten by workers who built the Great Wall of China over 2,000 years ago. The original version used rice wine rather than salt as the fermentation agent. German soldiers adopted a salt-fermented cabbage version sometime in the following centuries, and it spread across Central Europe as a winter survival food because fermented cabbage keeps for months without refrigeration. Dutch sailors carried sauerkraut on long voyages as a scurvy preventative because it retains vitamin C through fermentation. Captain James Cook credited sauerkraut with keeping his crew healthy on his voyages. A Chinese construction worker's food became a German cultural institution and a Dutch sailor's medicine. Fish and chips. Fish and chips was invented in Britain in the 1860s when Jewish immigrants from Portugal brought fried fish to London and local chip shops added fried potatoes alongside. The combination became the national dish of Britain and the primary food source for working-class families through 2 world wars. Winston Churchill called fish and chips good companions. British fish and chip shops outnumbered McDonald's locations in the UK for most of the 20th century. A Portuguese Jewish frying tradition combined with a British potato habit became the most consumed takeaway meal in British history. Ossobuco. Ossobuco means bone with a hole in Italian, the marrow hole in the center of the braised veal shank. The dish originated in Milan. Slow cooked in white wine and broth until the meat falls from the bone and the marrow softens enough to scoop with a long, thin spoon. The marrow is considered the prize. Diners who leave their marrow are viewed with concern by Italian grandmothers. This concern is communicated directly and without apology. Gremolata, lemon zest, garlic, parsley, is added at the end to cut the richness. Hours of work, completely worth it. Gelato. Gelato contains less fat and less air than American ice cream. American ice cream is legally required to contain at least 10% butterfat and is churned at high speed, incorporating air that increases volume by up to 100%. Gelato uses more milk than cream, churns slower, and serves at a warmer temperature that keeps it denser and more intensely flavored. Florence claims to have invented it in the 16th century. Sicilians dispute this. The argument has been running for 500 years without resolution. Every gelato shop outside Italy is technically making an approximation. The best ones are very good approximations.
The CRUFFIN. The CRUFFIN is a croissant baked in a muffin tin, so the laminated dough spirals upward into a cylindrical shape and is then filled through the top with cream, jam, or custard. It was invented at Mr. Holmes' Bakehouse in San Francisco in 2014. Lines formed immediately. The format spread to bakeries globally within 2 years. The CRUFFIN solved a structural problem that croissants have always had. The filling stays inside. Standard croissants are rarely filled because the hollow interior collapses when piped. The muffin tin forces the dough to create a stable cavity. A San Francisco baker's solution to a pastry engineering problem became one of the most replicated bakery items of the decade.
Cottage pie. Cottage pie and shepherd's pie are not the same dish. Shepherd's pie uses lamb, cottage pie uses beef. This distinction matters enormously to British people and to no one else. The name comes from 18th century Britain, when cottagers, meaning poor rural workers, used leftover roasted meat and covered it with mashed potato to stretch it further. The potato topping was practical, not decorative. It sealed in heat and moisture and turned scraps into a complete meal. By the 20th century, cottage pie had become a British school dinner staple, which is both a compliment and an explanation for why British people have complicated feelings about it. It is simultaneously the food of poverty, childhood, and genuine comfort.